So thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. I dedicate this lecture tonight Leilui Nishmat Shimon ben Mishael, Leilui Nishmat David ben Aharon, Leilui Nishmat Esther bat Israel, Leilui Nishmat Zerubbabel ben Gabriel, and Yehuda ben David. So yeah, all of them passed away this year. So it's an honor for me to dedicate this to their memory. I also want to dedicate this to the Refuah Shlema of Dan ben Esther, Bezrat Hashem Refuah Shlema, for him and the whole Cholei Israel. How are you doing? Wow.
Thank you so much.
Now I feel very challenged by your presence here. But you're going to give me a hand.
God forbid.
Akimen is an expert in Persian history, Mashali history. Wow. So what I want to do tonight is answer one question. Is Megillat Esther a story or is history? That's my question. What's the difference between Megillat Esther and, for example, The Little Mermaid? Okay, because in The Little Mermaid, you actually have these characters, right? You have Ursula, the bad character. You have Ariel, and you have what's his name, Sebastian, and who else is the other guy?
Flounder.
Yeah, you have the good character. You have the king, Triton. You have Prince Eric, right? You have Prince, and the king, and the queen, and the one to, and same thing happened with virtually every fairy tale that you have these type of characters. And my question is then, if Megillat Esther belongs to the realm of a fairy tale, or if we are talking about history. That is what we're going to deal with tonight, okay? And for that, first of all, I would like your help. What do you think? What's the difference? How do you differentiate between myth or story and history?
Fact.
What else? Let me help you. Two elements by which you can identify history and you can differentiate history from stories, from fairy tales. And these two elements, very simple. One is space and the other one is time. Whenever you hear once upon a time, it means that there was no specific time. It's a fairy tale. In a far away land, there is no specific space. But when you have history, you have, for example, this. You have B'chodesh HaShelishi Letzet Bnei Israel Meretz Mitzrayim. This is how the covenant of Mount Sinai begins. In the third month, after the people of Israel, in the year the people of Israel left Egypt, they came to Midbar Sinai. Okay, they arrived to Midbar Sinai. So you have these coordinates of, what were the coordinates? Of space and time. When you have space and time, you are talking about history. When you're talking about myth, there is no space. Where did it happen? Aladdin, exactly. What year? What place? You have Jafar, the bad guy. You have the king. You have the prince. You have the princess. Right? Exactly the characters of it. But something is missing. Place and time. Now, my question is, does the Megillah has place and time? From the very beginning. From the very beginning, and that is exactly what we're talking about, that this is history. This is something that happened. Vayivimei Achashverosh. This is how the Megillah starts. In the days of Achashverosh. Now, Achashverosh. This is the Achashverosh, very, very known, especially because, and this is very important, ladies and gentlemen, the Megillah was not written 500 years after the events took place. The Megillah, according to the Megillah, was written by Mordechai and Esther in the kingdom, during the kingdom of Achashverosh. In a sense, under the auspices of Achashverosh, the king. It's like a royal document written in Hebrew, but it belongs to the chronicles of the Persian Empire. So, Achashverosh, it was in the days of Achashverosh. Achashverosh, this is the famous Achashverosh, Hamolech, the one that reigns. That's in present tense. You understand? That's exactly what I'm saying, that it is during the reign of Achashverosh that is Hamolech mehodu ve'ad Kush. Hodu is the one that reigns from India to Kush, which is today is Ethiopia. But of course, the political divisions that we have today are not exactly like that. But I can tell you that the emperors before Achashverosh, which I'm going to get to them in a second, they used to have the same kind of description. For example, Darius, Achashverosh's father, he wrote, "Here is the kingdom that I possess," and I'm quoting, "from the Scythians, which is something in the Urales, who are beyond Sogdiana, to the land of Kush, from India to Sardis." So these two names, Kush, which is going south from Egypt, okay? Egypt was one of the main powers in those days too. We're going to get second to what are those days. And India was very known also. India was Indochina. India, a little bit of China. Again, there is no political divisions as we know them today. But this is mentioned by the emperors. So we have a claim, and we're going to analyze this claim. 127 city-states, 127 provinces, or towns or peoples, that is the emperor of all of them. Emperor means, how do you say in Hebrew, emperor? How do you say in Hebrew, king? How do you say in Hebrew, emperor? Okay, I'm going to help you. How do you call Hashem in Hebrew? Melech, Malche, HaMelachim. The king of kings. Why? Because in those days, there were kings, and there were also emperors. Emperors are called king of kings, which means in these 127 states, there were kings all over. But the emperor was the king of kings. Now, Borei Olam is the only one that is the king of kings. Melech Malchei Melachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Clear? Okay. So now the Megillah says, Sheva Besiu Mea Medina, 127 states. Now, the question that we have to clarify is, who was Achashverosh? Is it a Jafar type of king, King Triton? Is a mythological figure, or is an historical figure? Historical figure. So let me give you a short introduction, and I'm very embarrassed in front of you, to Persian history. Okay, but before I do that, I forgot to give you this. Here is some information for you. I hope I have enough for everyone. I made like 40 copies. So the first Persian emperor is very loved by the Jews. Okay, is Koresh, Cyrus, very loved by us. Why we love Kurosh so much? Why? Because in the first year of his kingdom, 70 years after we were, a little less, after we were exiled, he said, God talked to me, Elohei Hashamayim, he revealed to me, and he told me to build his house in Yerushalayim, so every one of his people that wants to go to Israel to build the Beit HaMikdash, Ya'al, you can go, Aliyah, you can go. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what the Tanakh is? Torah, Nevi'im, Ketuvim, in the Hebrew Bible. The last pasuk, the last three pasukim of the Hebrew Bible are about this. Are about the proclamation, the edict, the declaration of Cyrus that he allows the Jewish people to go back to the land. And you know what happened? All the Jews returned to Israel, right? No?
No.
Incredible that after 70 years that we get back Megillat Israel, can you conceive that Jews did not go back to Israel? That's inconceivable, right? That's crazy, crazy. But yeah, most Jews.
Today also.
Really? Most Jews, they remain out there in Persia. All right. So now Cyrus, very, very cherished for us, Kurosh, and then I'm not going to go to the whole history of the Persian Empire. This is the Achaemenid. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly. Achaemenid. That's Persia. In English, Achaemenid. Okay, Achaemenid dynasty. The Achaemenid dynasty. After Darius, here you have the second one is Cambyses. Now, with Cambyses, the empire grows more, and now it goes into Egypt. Actually, Cambyses goes also into Libya. So what is today Egypt, it goes more to the west and it goes more to the south. Okay? And now they have to hold all this huge empire from India to Kush. But things go a little further with Darius, with the son of Cambyses. Dariavesh, we call it in Hebrew. In English is Darius. Okay, Darius. And now Darius has another plan. He already has a strong hold in Egypt and all the rest, but he dreams with conquering the world, which is conquering Greece. And he starts what is called the Greco-Persian Wars. Now, let me tell you something. Who is in the Goyim, who is known as the father of history? Herodotus. Now Herodotus, he is a Greek guy, he lives around the year 400, and now he starts history with these wars. His books of history start with these wars. So Herodotus is a very important document. Actually, there are not many documents originally from the Persian Empire. I think the most credible and detailed document is called Megillat Esther. But let me tell you in a second why. Now, Darius has a son, and his name is Achashverosh, also known as Xerxes, also known as Achashverosh. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Achashverosh. And this is Xerxes. This is Achashverosh.
In Italian, Asuero.
That's in Spanish too, Asuero. Okay, Achashverosh, Asuero, Xerxes, Achashverosh. I hope you see that the same, we are talking here about the same person. Okay? And this is our Achashverosh. That's our Achashverosh. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Achashverosh in a second, and more or less what happened with him. And then we're going to see the story of Achashverosh, what happened with Achashverosh, from inside the Megillah. Because my goal today is to demonstrate to you that the Megillat Esther is a very, very strong based history. Very, extremely accurate, but written diplomatically. I want to show you a little bit about these two things as an introduction to the story, because again, you cannot think that this is a myth, something that happened like Cinderella. That's not Cinderella. This is very, very, very important history. Now, what happened with Xerxes, with Achashverosh, Achashverosh? He comes to the throne in the year 486. We are talking before the Common Era, so we're going to go 86, 85, 84, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now he consolidates his kingdom for a few years. This is what the king has to do, because everywhere there are potential rebellions against the king, as you know. All right? And then he sets in his mind to fulfill the goal of his father and to conquer Greece. Now, ladies and gentlemen, by this time, the largest empire known in human history is the Persian Empire at this time. Let me read it for you. Around the year 500, the Persian Empire was the biggest empire the world had yet seen. Okay? And this is from the Encyclopedia of Ancient Greek World, David Sachs, blah, 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 blah. Now, I did some research, and this is a parenthesis, okay? And it might be like expansively, yes, but I think that, I don't know how to say, transversally, from point to point, there might have been one empire that was a little bit longer, not larger, but longer. That was the Mongol Empire, believe it or not, in the times of Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan. Yeah, Genghis Khan. I think there was longer, but again, I'm basing myself in the Encyclopedia of Ancient Greek World, the year 500, which is where we are right now, 486, in the time of Darius and Achashverosh. Persian Empire is the largest ever. He has to conquer Greece. And if he conquers Greece, then he has all Europe open to him. You understand? So he conquers the war. Whoever conquers Greece conquers the war. Now, how do you conquer Greece? Because his father tried. So Achashverosh prepares the biggest and largest military expedition in history. Who knows how many soldiers were in his army? Oh, who can give me an approximate number?
1 million.
1 million. According to Herodotus, his army, the army that he took to conquer Greece, had 2.6 million people, military personnel, and the same number of, accompanied by an equivalent number of support personnel. According to Herodotus, 2.6 million military personnel accompanied by the equivalent number of support personnel. So we're talking about 5 million people. 5 million people. I always say that, many archaeologists that they deny the accuracy of the Bible. They say, oh, there is no evidence, any leftovers. They never say that this journey that they had to take, imagine, from Shushan or from whatever in Persia to Thermopylae, to Athens, okay, was 5 million people. 5 million. And there are no evidences there because they're all buried. But for that, they don't say anything. All right. Now, how long takes you to prepare an attack with 5 million people that you have to recruit from all over the empire? How long might it take you? Give me a number. Give me an estimate. Like 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 2-3 years. Okay, so he has prepared himself. What was the year of his coronation? It's a very important thing. 486, thank you. Now he prepares himself for approximately 3 years. And when did he start to prepare himself? Well, here is a theory. So if he prepared himself for 2 or 3 years, okay, so we are saying that approximately by the year 480, 479, 480, he went to battle, right? Approximately. Now, one theory I heard is the following. I'm going to read it for you, one pasuk, the second pasuk of Megillat Esther. You ready? Bayamim ha'em, in those days, Keshevet HaMelech Achashverosh al Kiseh Malchuto. This is so precise. What does it mean? Keshevet HaMelech Achashverosh al Kiseh Malchuto. When what? When he sits on his throne, which means what? Ooh, very good. Thank you, Colette. When he was established in his kingdom, which means after all the battles that he had to, the points that he had to, rebellions he had to suffocate everywhere, now he feels established. Once you are established, you can think about Greece. Don't forget, that's his dream, Greece. So, Keshevet Amelech Achashverosh al Kiseh Malchuto Asher Beshushan Abira, and he had two capital cities. One was Shushan, Shush, and the other one was Persepolis. How you say Persepolis? Persepolis. Summer and winter. Two capital cities. All right. So right now, it's established in Shush, and I will explain to you what's the difference between the two. All right. And he's already strong in his position. And now, Bishnat Shalosh Lemolcho, in the 3rd year of his kingdom, Asam Mishte Lechol Sarab Ba'avadav. He made a, what is a Mishte Lechol Sarab Ba'avadav? He made a party, a feast, a banquet for all his servants. But wait a second. Let me continue reading who are his servants, because if you make a party, who would you invite? Maybe the politicians, maybe this, maybe the celebrities, maybe the rabbi, I don't know. The religious people from your religion, from your kingdom. But you know what he did? Asam Mishte Lechol Sarab Ba'avadav, Chel Paras Umadai. He recruited the army of Persia and the Persian and the Medes, who were like together. They were allies. The Persian okay. So these two, Chel Paras Umadai, Hapartemim Besarei Medinot Lefanav. He made a mishte that lasted for how long? 6 months. Now, I know that usually we think, oh yeah, 6 months, he wants to show off, but what are you doing for 6 months there? What could you be doing with the army for 6 months? You recruit the army from everywhere to do what? To plan an attack. So that's the theory, that he's amassing, he's organizing this army which is going to attack. And this took at least 6 months. That's why after he did that, he did another 7 where he relaxed. And in the last day, he got drunk. Which means that before that, he did not get drunk, because he had to be very sober to plan the attack. And he was working like crazy for 6 months. Now, there is one reason, Moshe, I haven't seen you, 3 weeks? I miss you so much. You too, but it's 3 weeks I haven't seen it. All right, so now I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. This is my president, my boss. Everybody's here. Okay, so I'm sorry. Where was I? So he's organizing the army for 6 months. Okay, and then the last day he gets drunk. Before that, he cannot get drunk. Now, question to you: why in the war it doesn't say here that this is what he was doing? Why the Megillah? By the way, I'm reading the Megillah for you, right? I'm just giving you some background. Be'ar Oto, the Megillah says that what he was doing in those 6 months is Be'ar Oto et Osher Kevod Malchuto. He was showing all his power and all this glory of his kingdom. All all the beauty, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't say anything about an army. Is there any allusion here about the massive attack with 5 million people going to Greece? Why not? Because he lost. Because Achashverosh lost the battle in a very advantageous position. He outnumbered the Greeks like I don't know, 10-1, and he lost. So of course, follow me for a second, if the Megillah was written in the time of Achashverosh, would you expect Mordechai and Esther to write, when the king was preparing the army, blah 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 blah, for the failed operation that he did in Thermopylae? How do you pronounce? Thermopylae. I don't know how to pronounce it. I know how to write it. I don't know how to. Thermopylae. All right. In the battle of Thermopylae and Salamis, this is the one that he lost. He wouldn't write that. So there is no writing because everything has to be very diplomatic. So yes, there is a very faithful description of the facts. 6 months, all the army is there, but nothing is mentioned about the army. That is like there is a pact of silence about everything that could be deemed like negative of Achashverosh. You understand why, right? Again, you understand this only when you bear in mind that this was written while Achashverosh was the king. So they have to be incredibly diplomatic. There is nothing explicitly wrong about Achashverosh in Megillat Esther. And this is why. Does it say that Achashverosh knew what he was doing against the Jews? That he was a serial killer like Hitler or something like that? Or he was cheated and misguided by Haman? The bad guy is Haman. Achashverosh is He's a good king. He saved the day for the Jews. He didn't know, right? Why? Now, what is the truth? I don't know. If he knew, he didn't know. I don't know. Could be yes, could be no. Who knows?
He was very weak.
He was very weak. Yeah, but the Megillah doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. Even when he gets drunk, he says, "Ketov lev hamelech bayayin." When his heart was good with wine, was elevated, merry with wine. So he's very careful. Okay, so I just demonstrated you the 3 years. We are 486, right? First, now we are 483 here. He's preparing the organizing the army. Let's say 482, 481. Now we are 481, and now the biggest. How many soldiers were in the D-Day in Normandy?
400,000.
400,000. Okay. Now here we're talking about 2.6 million soldiers. You have to imagine. This is a massive army. Also, there is a whole description of the Navy, etc. But that's the number. All right? So now we know exactly when the Battle of Salamis was lost. In the year 480. Which is the 6th year of the reign of Achashverosh. This is when he lost the battle. And he was defeated, and it was a great embarrassment because he had everything to win. Okay? Now what did he do? Now we know what happened. Now many times the king with the army, they stay in situ. They stay in that place. But I'm reading for you from Wikipedia. According to Herodotus, fearing that the Greeks might attack the bridges across the Hellespont and trap his army in Europe, Xerxes, Achashverosh, decided to retreat back to Asia, taking the greater part of the army with him. So by the year 480, he goes back. And he gets back into Shushan in 479. All right? This is in the fall of 479. He goes back, which is the 7th year of Achashverosh. Now, let's make a parenthesis. I'm going to ask you a question. You study this in, those of you who went to yeshiva, you study this in yeshiva, right? The story of Megillat Esther, you did, more or less. Could you give me more or less, a timeline? For example, if I ask you, let's say, when did, you don't read this, when, you know, the 3rd year of Achashverosh, okay, very good. Now, when was the coronation of Esther? All the contest, blah, 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 okay? When was it? This, what year was that? Or what do you think? I mean, if you ask anyone, will say, yeah,
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year apart. They were 1 year apart. Now, if the Megillah would have said 1 year apart, because it's one chapter apart, and you cannot even tell that there is a year apart. If the Megillah would have said, yeah, in the 4th year of Achashverosh, Esther was coronated, the Megillah is fake. If the Megillah would have said, in the 5th year of Achashverosh, he monitored the contest and Esther was coronated, the Megillah is fake. If it would have said in the 6th year of Achashverosh, this is the year 480, he's still there, right? To our surprise or not. Look, now I want to direct you to chapter 2, because we already read chapter 1, right? So let me show you how does it start. So first we have the first pasuk, Achara devarim ha'ele. What does it mean, Achara devarim ha'ele? Yes, after these events. Now, when you read these events, the last thing that the Megillah speaks about is the problem that he had with Vashti. That was year 483, right? And now, Achara devarim ha'ele, keshoch chamat amelech Achashverosh, translate for me. When the king was his anger was abated. His anger with whom? The Megillah makes you think, if you don't know the history, the Megillah makes you think that it took him 4 years to unwind about what happened with Vashti. But when you scratch a little bit the text, you understand that when finally Achashverosh was less depressed for what happened where? In the Greeks. Now, is it going to be mentioned in Megillat Esther? No. Why? Because it is embarrassing. Zacharet Vashti vet asher asata vet asher nigzar alea. If you read it without critical eyes, you will put these two together. After it came down from Vashti, after 4 years, he was angry at Vashti that he killed, and now he's looking for a new wife. So where is the timeline here? Is there any reference to time? Yes, but very casual. Only at the end, if in chapters, in Pasuk 16, like, by the way, we are told the year, but tilakach Esther el Amelech Achashverosh el Ben Malchuto, and Esther was taken to the palace Bechodesh Asiri Uchodesh Tevet, in the 10th month, the month of Tevet, Bishnat Sheva le Malchuto, in the 7th year of his kingdom. 479. Your father will say, bingo. Am I right? It was a bingo. That's exactly the year. Do you see? Again, if people have said the 5th year, 4th year, who cares? But the Megillah is so precise. It's so incredibly precise. That's when, now, to distract the king, they bring all the girls, you understand, right? A king that is depressed because he lost Now he has to show that. I mean, this is also an incredible work of psychology, Megillat Esther. A king that lost his macho image, now is trying to recover the macho image, and his servants, Babylon Melech, Mesharetav, his people, his servants, they say, Ibakshula Melech, Ne'arot Betulot, Ovon Mar'eh, go and look for the most beautiful girls in the entire empire, and they had to make the crazy preparations. Now the first selection, the second selection, the third selection, and only them, they have to go 6 months. Here says they have to be 6 months in different creams and baths, and 6 months in besamim, tabrukei anashim, in cosmetics and makeup. 1 year to spend 1 night with the king. You understand the eccentricism of this crazy, depressed king. He's a depressed king that the only outlet he has right now is women, and now he's going to be into drinking a lot. The word mishteh is going to, mishteh, which means to drink, is going to be once and again and again and again and again. Nothing critical is said explicitly about it. You have to read in between the lines. But to understand, you cannot understand correctly Megillat Esther if you ignore the historical background. I mean, you can read it casually, as 99.99% of people do, and they just, when they say Mishnat Sheva Malchut, they couldn't care less. Now, I'm trying to, that's why we are studying, we are not reading, we are studying right now Megillat Esther, and my goal is to give you a timeline of Megillat Esther. When did it happen? Okay? So, this is in the year 7th, and this is what happened with Esther. Esther finally is crowned. And now we go to chapter 3. Alright? Now, anybody knows what happens in chapter 3? Chapter 2 is Esther. Chapter 3, what happens in chapter 3? Okay, let me tell you a little bit about chapter 3. After these events, which last time it was a leap of 4 years. Now it's a leap of a few years too. We're going to find out how many years lapsed between chapter 2 and chapter 3 in a second. Now, what was Achashverosh doing? What was he occupying himself with when he desisted already from attacking Greece? Okay? So what is this depressed king doing? Okay, I told about ladies, drinking, but every king wants to leave a legacy. Now, in order for you to answer to this question, what type of legacy he wanted to leave, you have to think about pharaohs. Okay, what type of enterprises Achashverosh did? So let me read for you what Wikipedia says. So it says that after the military blunders in Greece, Achashverosh returned to Persia and oversaw the completion of many construction projects left unfinished by his father at Shush and Persepolis. Do you understand the psychology behind this? I didn't write this. This is a quote from Wikipedia. What did I just read? Me, Achashverosh, I couldn't complete the dream of my father of conquering Greece, but I'm going to do something else. I'm going to complete the dream of my father in the construction projects. And the kings left a legacy of pyramids, and in the case of Achashverosh, of palaces. The most luxurious palaces. His palace, I don't know if it's in Persepolis or Shush, was twice the size, and like a marvel of architecture of that time. That was how the Goyim king, they express mighty, or they convey mighty and power, and they left a legacy because those stones will be there forever. That is what he thought. Now, because he's building the two things, Shush and Persepolis, I believe, but I'm not sure. I believe that he alternated between Shushan and Persepolis here and there, okay, overseeing all these two construction sites. So I don't know if it was winter and summer, or it was going for the weather or for the construction. In any case, anybody has any idea at what point we were in chapter 2, we were in the year 7th, right? Now, what year are we in chapter 12 when Haman comes to power? After these things, the king Achashverosh, he appointed Gidal HaMelech Achashverosh et Haman ben Hamedata HaAgagi Vainaseu Vayasem Mikisom al Kol Hasarim asher ito. He puts Haman in the top of all the ministers. What year is that of Achashverosh kingdom? Okay, let me ask you another question before. For how many years reigned Achashverosh? 21. 486, 465. Now imagine that the Megillah wouldn't be correct. So imagine the Megillah would say in the year 25 of Achashverosh. So we will know that the Megillah is fake. It's not correct. You see, you have to see that the pieces, they go perfectly together. Perfectly together. All right? Now, we are now, the leap is 5 years leap. We are now in the 12th year of Achashverosh. He has 9 more years to go. And at this point, how do we know? Because I'm going to read it for you right now here. All right? Look, in this page, the second page, in Pasuk 3:12, after Haman convinced Achashverosh to write an edict to eliminate the Jewish people, it says, by Kareu Sofrei HaMelech B'chodesh HaRishon, in the first month, Bishlosha Asar Yom Bo. What is the Chodesh Rishon? It's the Chodesh of Nisan. Nisan. In the month of Nisan, it is the month of spring, which is very close to the, Persian culture also. B'chodesh Rishon Bishlosha Asar Yom Bo, Vayikatev Kechol Asher. Sorry, I'm sorry.
One paragraph up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Bishnat, I'm sorry. B'chodesh Rishon u'chodesh Nisan, in the first month, in the month of Nisan, Bishnat 12 lemelech Achashverosh, in the year 12 of King Achashverosh. This is when the edict against the Jews was written. Okay, and I'm going to finish with a little story about time also, but with this pasuk. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? Any questions? Anything? Okay. So let me tell you a story that is also not very known. It's the timeline of the Megillah. In the year 12 of Achashverosh, in the month of Nisan, in the 13th of the month of Nisan, Haman makes a pur, ipil pur. What is the pur? Pur is like dice or some type of lottery by which, throwing certain stones, imagine that you have months, the name of the months, and the day of the month, okay? So you throw the stone with your eyes closed, and wherever the stone, maybe it's a ball, it's not a stone, like a roulette, I don't know, something like that. And it has to fall in one of the months. And then you do the same thing, and it has to fall in one of the days. Okay? And so it happened that the pur fell on the month of Adar, and the day is 13. Now, forget about the day. What is the importance that in the month of Nisan, okay, the edict that Haman writes with and sealed by Achashverosh, saying that all the Jews will be killed in that day, fell on the month of Adar. 11 months later, which is the
longest period of time it could have been.
the longest period of time that it could be, because obviously you don't put Nisan, but you go all the months. If it would have been Sivan 2 months later, there is no virtual time to do anything, because don't forget this, because this is history, ladies and gentlemen, and because the Persian Empire was the largest one, and it included all the towns known in those days, including Israel or excluding Israel? Including Israel. Where else besides the Persian Empire lived the Jews? Was there any other Jewish community outside the Persian Empire? No. Which means that when Haman says and makes the king sign that he's going to kill all the Jews in the Persian Empire, this is not the Persian Jews, the Jews of Shushan. This is the Jews of the entire empire. There are no Ashkenazim in those days. There is no Jews in Europe. There is nothing else. All of them are there in the Persian Empire. This would have been a Holocaust in terms of proportion bigger than the Holocaust, simply because it was all under one roof. Do you understand what I'm saying? The 100%, because when Hitler wanted to do what he wanted to do, there were Jews in America, millions of Jews in America that were not in Europe. There were Jews in South America, there were Jews in Australia, there were Jews here and there. But in the time of Achashverosh, all Jews were Persian. So all Jews are of Persian origin, actually. Sephardim doesn't matter. All right? Now, that's a very important fact to bear in mind. Now, if from Shushan goes the edict, it has to go to the Jews that live in Indochina, that they are doing business there. Okay? How long would it take for the messengers to get there? 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. So the edict goes, you need 5 weeks, and now if the edict will be reverted, we don't know, you need another 5 weeks. But if 5 weeks will, if the month in the pool would have been Nisan Iyar, the month of Iyar, the month of Sivan, the 10th of the month of Sivan, they're gone. They're gone. These Jews are gone. So part of Purim, what we call this Purim, is because Borei Olam intervened in this natural way, in this Goralot, and it was the longest or the farthest away month. You understand? Now, last question. The 13th of Nisan, this edict went out. How long it took for Mordechai and Esther, and Mordechai was in a rush to do something. They knew that it will take 11 months. How long did it take for Esther and Mordechai to get Haman killed and reverse the edict? When did it happen? Pesach? No, 13th of Nisan is Pesach. So that's when the edict went out. How long did it take? Okay, here, this is the... So, בחודש השלישי, הוא חודש סיוון, בשלושה ועשרים בו. In the month of Sivan, in the 13th day of the month of Sivan, which is then, how many days? How many days? 70 days. 70 days. Okay? 70 days it took for them. This is when the second edict went there. Alright? Now, that's the final thing. What happened with the Jews of a town far away, or even in Israel. What happened when they got the edict? And you know what the edict said? What was the plan of Haman? How you get all the Jews killed? The simplest way. You say whoever killed a Jew can keep the money, keep the houses, their cars, their money, can take their children as slaves, can take their wives, do whatever you want with their daughters and with their money, so long as you kill them. Who is going to find a one goy tzaddik that's going to say, no, I won't do anything against these poor people, against my neighbors? You know what happened in Ukraine, Hungary, like in the 20th century? Okay, they were fighting, 20th century, fighting who gets the houses of the Jews. Imagine 2,500 years ago. Okay, so that was a master plan of Haman, right? But the thing is like this. One rabbi, Rabbi Yom Tov Tzahalon, it says that the Jews, whenever they got the message that the Jews will be killed the 13th of Adar, they were put, and he says something very similar to this, I'm using a modern concept, they were put in labor camps, concentration camps, in prison, so they don't escape. So they are there, waiting for the execution day that will be the 13th of Adar. They didn't want them to escape. So they were in prison. In prison. Okay? So that's why Mordechai was 70 days, that's why I put here, 70 days of terror that the Jews lived. The Midrash says that the Goyim, they were showing the knives to the Jewish moms and say, you see, with this knife, I'm going to kill your children one by one. And Baruch Hashem, Benahafochu, and for the Zechut of Borei Olam. By the way, why the name of Borei Olam is not here? Because it was written under the auspices of Achashverosh. He cannot put Borei Olam is the hero. He has to put that, who is the hero? Achashverosh. Achashverosh is the hero, not Borei Olam. You understand? Ladies and gentlemen, I finish. I just wanted to show you today how incredibly precise is the Megillah. As I started this class today, the difference between myth and history is space and time. And today you saw both. You saw the perfect references of time in Megillat Esther, how everything fits. There is no one of the dates that doesn't fit, and you can say, oh, I doubt the historicity of Megillat Esther. The opposite. Is so precise that I think right now many, despite their wishes, many people in the academic world, they are seeing that Megillat Esther is the most credible source of Persian history, including the description of the palaces of Achashverosh and other kings. And this class was dedicated to Ilui Nishmat, as I said, Shimon ben Mishael, and Esther bat Israel, and David ben Aharon, and Zerubbabel ben Gabriel, and Yehuda ben David, and the Refuah Shlema of Dan ben Esther. I'm going to say right now, with your permission, I'm going to say the Ashkava, I'm going to say Kaddish Titkabal. With your permission, I'm going to say Shila Ma'alot for Refuah Shlema. It's okay? It's going to take me 1 minute and a half. רבי חנן בן הקשיא, המנחם מקום לטוב יחוש ולחום מנחם, הנפש רוח ונשמה, שנפטר השם על טוב, דוד בן אהרון, הנפש שמעון בן מישאל, הנפש אסתר בת ישראל, הנפש זרובבל בן גבריאל, הנפש אסתר בת ישראל, הנפש יהודה בן דוד, רוח השם תניחם בגן עדן. הם בכל ישראל שיכולים ללמוד בחי אחד מסליחות, וכן יהיה רצון ולומר אמן. רבי חנן בן הקשיא אומר, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לכל לפיכך הרבה להם תורה ומצוות, שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו